Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Zwift Community Live broadcast of the Zwift Racing League playoffs, day number 1. Nathan Guerra here, Dave Towle next to me, and we are out on Watopia's waistband throughout the entirety of the day. Usually, we'd be talking about each of these zones as EMEA, APAC, West, East, but really, this is more akin, Dave, to a WTRL TTT type of a day where all of these teams are competing against each other across all of the zones throughout the entirety of the day to get placement for where they are going to be sitting on playoffs day number 2. They're going to accumulate points based on their times against each other across all the zones rather than just in the single events that we are jumping into today.
Yeah, good point, Nathan. I think it's fair to say that you're racing against the clock, right? You're always racing against the course, too. But it's pretty pure that way, and it keeps it fair rather than having some teams getting way outside of the norm for what time during the day that they race. They'll get a fair crack at it. So it's nice. This is the way the WTRL works. It is worldwide. And, I think we're up to 19 zones when we race on Thursdays now. So that's pretty much every time zone. We're getting close at this point. So this is going to be fantastic. I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that Kate and Anna had a chance to look at the Aero team getting out on course in APAC earlier today. So again, just geographically, you think about down under, there's not that many people per capita. Obviously, some of the best athletes in the world come from that corner of the globe. But certainly that Aero time, Nathan, that'll be a pretty good benchmark time to look at today, if I'm correct.
Yeah, the Aero, for the women's side of things, definitely had a solid time. On the men's side of things as well, actually, super solid time as I'm just reloading some of the results as they stand currently. Let's actually go ahead and do that as we are getting updates here. So far, what has happened throughout the day today? Oceania has gone out. APAC has gone out. There was a zone that went out at 4:30 a.m. my time as well. That was in the competition. And then now we do have the EMEA that is kind of condensing all of the zones that we had down into, I believe it's five total races. So there was one race that went out about an hour ago at 11:30. There's a women's race that just went out at 12:15 my time. Now we do have another men's race that just went out, then another women's race, and then another men's race. We're going to be covering the last 3 as far as the images we'll be giving you, but we're also going to be talking throughout all of this about where things stand as the times come through. We can give you a current standings board. Now, again, this will change throughout the day. This is how things are based on the current times that have come through up to this point. And it looks like the first EMEA race has just finished, actually. And what's really surprising me, Dave, when we take a look at this board, I was expecting a little bit more from Europe. Here, let's go and take a quick look at this because I thought for sure that the board was going to change up a lot more. But instead, Aero's still at the top in the men's mixed right now.
Good for them. That certainly speaks to what they've been all about, taking on the world and quietly. So to give a big picture here, this is one of 2 playoff days. We'll be back racing in the points race format in early December. That's significant, Nathan. You can see that's basically the Australian national team's jersey there for Aero with 20 points. World Elite Zwifters Wolfpack sit in. It's really important to note that this could update, and it very well may update throughout the day. But Aero on top, World Elite Zwifters, the Wolfpack team sitting with the second fastest time at this moment. BL13 Watt Bombs in at 3rd quickest. Eat Dirt Aces 4th, and NZ Bro Frodo 5th fastest. So you can see there Foudre XO, DBRRT. There's a few teams still waiting to get out and race today.
Yeah, so DBR, so as they start populating with the zeros at the bottom, those will start disappearing because the zeros simply just mean those riders have started. So DBR, RT are out on course, Foudre are out on course, so any of the zeros that we do have, but as we do get more finishers, those are just going to disappear altogether because we only list the top 10. On the women's side of things here real quickly, all we have so far for finishers on the women's team league standings right now is Aero. Aero are still sitting at the top, but with Roca Corba out on course, SSC Sin and Coalition Synergy, Aero put down a really solid time this morning. We'll get a look at those times in just a moment, but man, I have a feeling that Roca Corba and SC Zin, and this is going to be an interesting conversation here, Dave. As Roca Corba are out on course and SC Zin as well. Sin, we saw in team time trialing as well as later in the season that SZ were challenging Roca Corba, and I'm wondering if they've done some homework and if they're going to show up and maybe get a little bit of an upset for Roca Corba in this playoff situation. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Ashley Moomin-Passio and that team that she's been putting together. They dominated the season. I just had this feeling at that last race that SZ were kind of showing up with a little extra homework.
I really felt that too, Nathan. I back that up. Don't sleep on the Swedes. As a matter of fact, this is going to be one of the best days of racing we've had in a long time. I'm starting to get those goosebumps because Roca Corba probably on paper, well, Nathan's absolutely right. The Swedes really showed that they're in for the fight. And don't forget about Wahoo Le Col, who are racing a little bit later today. They also have been coming on strong. Now, this is going to be one of the epic team time trial battles. I feel like we're deep into a Thursday afternoon here. But Arrow, you can see those split times. And today we'll be looking at splits coming in at, I believe it's 8:16 and 22.
Yeah,
there
that was
we
my
go.
mistake. That was my mistake. Sorry about that.
And perfect. And that really that's a good marker. If you're outside of those times, I wouldn't expect to be well, let's just put it this way. You want to be on the right side of that Mason-Dixon line there.
Yeah, and as you can see here, this is going to give you an idea of how things have played out throughout the day. So at the top, we still have Arrow because they have finished. But underneath that, you can see the times as they start to slot in here. Roca Corba, fastest so far through the 16K mark. They have not come through for their 22-kilometer marker. There it is, Coalition Synergy, because they went out first, are the first ones to hit that 22K mark as they are rolling around out on course. Surprising to me just a little bit, SC Sin actually not coming through faster than Coalition Synergy. So Synergy actually showing up with a little bit more oomph today in the TTT.
Well, that certainly tells a story, doesn't it? That's why we have the racers actually race the race today. They're out on Watopia's waistband in this nearly 28 kilometers of racing. By the time it's done and dusted, it looks like things are really going Roca Corba's way. It's certainly been a big part of our storyline throughout this WTRL Zwift Racing League season here that Ashley Moomin-Passio has put together this team. There's some riders on this squad, Nathan, that are certainly turning heads, like Tennille Otto, Tiffany Keep also on the team, and it looks like they're having a great day today at that 16K check. So that's well over the halfway point there. 22:13, the fastest time by a long shot. And there you go, 30:33 coming through at 22K. So they really have to go off the rails for them right now to not have the fastest time.
This is really, we're going to be looking, I think, at Roca Corba versus Wahoo Le Col. Maybe also,
no doubt.
We'll have to take a look at the start list, though, for the later, what would have been called the West EMEA women, because there were some pretty strong teams in there. I remember the likes of Rachel Elliott. I remember some of these major household names, Socks for Watts. We're jumping in there. I believe we had some Sisu, I Raced Like a Girl in there. Just very, very strong individuals that we do not want to count out at all. So these initial times, yes, very important, but I have a feeling that we're going to see some battles, especially with that Wahoo Le Col team up against Roca Corba in just a little bit.
Yeah, there was a big race in South Africa. Boy, talk about punching above your weight. We were giving shout outs to New Zealand and Australia. Well, South Africa is certainly part of that conversation as well, as there's a rider there, and this is Wahoo Le Col, I believe, that we're looking at right now. So, Nathan, just to finish that story, in South Africa this last weekend, there was a classic road race, one of the biggest one-day road races that they have all year. The woman who won, well, esports world champion and one of the top pros in the world tour, Ashley Moomin-Passio of Roca Corba. Second place was Madeline Leroux. Probably her best performance in real life on a road bike. She's had a background as a triathlete, a multi-talented, multi-sport athlete who's now, it's actually pretty cool to watch that process, Nathan, is once you get deep into cycling or the dream of becoming a pro, you really have to go all in and commit on that, whether it's your diet, your sleep, much more than just the training. It's a lifestyle shift, and certainly that's going to be one of the great battles. Let's jump in here, though. Team doing a really good job right now. So it's that fourth rider. That's the critical crux of the situation. That fourth rider is where your time comes from. So keeping the team together, moving as a unit, that's the name of the game here. And Wahoo Le Col's really cracked the code this year.
Let's take a quick look here at the current situation with this. This is going to be, we are in with the, we'll call it the second race of the day for EMEA. The first race of the day was at 11:30 my time. This one just took off about 22 minutes ago, getting out on course. And these are going to be the current times for this specific event right now. Coming through at that 12K marker, right, or excuse me, 8K marker right now, 9:58. So Team Italy showing up on the day. Innovation Alien Resurrection there at a 10:06. And the current team we are looking at, Wahoo Le Col A1, tied at that 10:21 with the DBR RT 10:21. Then a 10:22 from Foudre and Athletic there at a 10:28 as we wait for them to come roll through that 16K marker. Wahoo Le Col being chased strongly, though, by Team Italy. It's going to put a little fire underneath them here, I think, here, because Italy here are hunting them strongly with the fastest time so far with that 9:58. Be interesting to see here. We might be able to get some split comparisons throughout the day as well to give you an idea of how Team Italy is going up against that top time of Team Aero.
Yeah, Team Italy here will be Alex Sihirian, Claudio Bina, Davide Fumagalli, Luca Zanasca, Marco Gaspari, and Riccardo Panizza. These are the riders that all took the start here for Italy 1. Getting some splits coming in now. You can see that Italy 1 with 9:58, the only team to go under 10 minutes here at that 8K check. The course is perfect team time trial course out here. It's flat. There's only one little riser that you really have to get through. So it really comes down to the power, speed, and aerodynamics, the grace of the team time trial that we're seeing just perfectly executed by the Italians here right now. They're going to be hard to beat today, Nathan. No doubt about it. You got a huge gap there. I mean, over 20 seconds.
Just really quickly here. I know it's a little bit. Look at the comparison of the split times. We'll move that over just a tad. It doesn't for the graphics. But Aero was at a 10:06. At that first checkpoint, and we're talking
8 seconds difference
over. Yeah. 8 seconds difference over. It's over that 12K though, right? Is it 12K or 8K? Excuse me.
8K to the first check.
Yeah, 8K to the first check. So, and only over 8K. That's a pretty big gap, actually. 8 seconds, in my opinion, for the top time to try and hit the top fastest time on the day. So solid ride by Team Italy here so far. I think for the day so far, they are the fastest team. They're looking to take down 20 points right now. They're looking to be at the top of the board at the end of this day.
That's a good example, Nathan. The difference here is that they're not just racing against the team that you see on the leaderboard here with Wahoo Le Col, the second fastest split coming in there, Wahoo Le Col A1, who we were with earlier. There's teams that have already raced, and there's teams that yet to race today. So right now, the Italians are obviously going to try to eke out every second they can. We're going to be looking at a 2014 at the 16K check. I'd like to see, Nathan, can we go back and look and see how that compares to Aero? Earlier today.
We can definitely do that. Let me just bring that on.
So that's what's fascinating about today's race, certainly, is that you're racing against ghosts of the past and ghosts of the future, right? That's somewhat appropriate with Christmas coming up right now. But this is going to be a 20:06. So look at that. Aero actually quicker, Nathan, at that 16K check.
What happened there?
That's interesting. And this is a team time trial. You can see that it'll go back and forth out here now. It looks like it is weird, isn't it, to be racing against a team that put their time up earlier in the day. But again, that speaks to the beauty of this community that we've got on Zwift.
I wonder
racing
if Italy just went out really hot, perhaps, or Aero tempered themselves into their race. One or the other. So we'll have to wait and see here.
There's schedules and pacing for top teams, right? And certainly sometimes you miss your mark. You never know what could have happened there in the early going. Italy obviously set an ambitious schedule for themselves, and let's see if they can rally and start bringing back some time there because, it's certainly not ideal when you see that the trending there. Depending on what your perspective is, I'm speaking from the Italians' perspective right now, this is Gaspari that we're in with. They certainly are working well as a unit here. Short, crisp pulls on the front, rotating off, although blobbing a little bit right now.
Yeah, especially with the new dynamics here, the blobbing. It used to be all about the blob way back in the Pack Dynamics 1.0. A lot of the teams would just use that to their advantage as much as they can. Now, any blobbing essentially is just
That's a
wasting
bad sign.
all the
Yeah.
energy of all the riders that are in that packed up next to each other avatar situation. So straight line right on the wheel in front of you. And it looks like they're figuring it out here a little
They're
bit
de-blobbed.
as Nazca heads to the front, it looks like.
And one of the ways to de-blob is to get a rider to take a long, hard pull on the front and let everyone just start slotting in. One rider has to do a little bit of extra work. And obviously, you can see now they're back into the rotation. This is Foudre that we're looking at now. And Maillard is the rider. Boy, when you pick them up, Nathan, they look spot on, don't they? Just a little bit of a gap from rider 3 back to rider 4 there, but that's something that they can weld back together pretty quickly here. So 28K of racing. This is going to tell us a lot now as INC Alien Resurrection, Nathan. Look at this. Ooh la la. They've opened up the throttle, folks. 20.06 for INC there. They've got to be. Now, that momentum, it really, they're through the toughest part of the course, to tell you the truth, and now just let her rip. As Team Italy won, Nathan, going back to what you said, yeah, clearly they went out really, really hard. Let's see if they can back things up.
Yeah, Innovation here actually losing a little bit of time, it looks like, to the DBR team, interesting enough. So I wonder if they went out really insanely hard, as I am looking at DBR here with a solid setup so far. Hebsgaard on the front there, 6.1 watts per kilogram. Back to Innovation, I am seeing a 123. Now, that might have been perhaps a starting difference, though, too. I'll have to make sure that I got this right, because Herman's coming on like a maniac. Vinton's there as well as they pulls on through. And maybe that's actually what's going on here. I'm wondering if Athletic started between Innovation and DBR, and Innovation caught Athletic is perhaps what happened here. And I think that's what's going on, is actually Innovation started 2 minutes behind DBR, and they've just closed down that much of a gap at this point.
Wow. I think it's 1 minute, but unless I'm misreading
No,
something.
because they caught Athletic. I think Athletic were the next ones to start, unless I'm incorrect. Unless Athletic has catching Innovation, but I don't think that's right with the 2103 I'm seeing at the bottom here. So I believe Innovation have not only caught Athletic, but they've made up almost a minute and a half on DBR. Otherwise, DBR has distanced itself, and we've got incorrect times here on the splits, but I don't think that's what's going on. I think Innovation have just almost closed down a minute and a half at this point.
So these teams are familiar with each other. Now, the team time trial, a very specific discipline, but it's a big part of the roots of what ZRL is all about. If you can't do this, you're never going to be a complete squad. We're back in with INC. This team is absolutely killing it out here today. As we take a look at Vinton here, rolling through, they are on a golden day. It's fun to watch a team putting it all together, and that's exactly what's happening with the INC Alien Express squad. So, Nathan, when you look at it now, they're just about 20K in. They're playing with the house's money here, but they're now racing again against a ghost, because that Aero team, weren't they at 2006, the Australian men's team? Now, Aero has a men's and a women's team, certainly worth noting how cool that is. But I believe that they were deadlocked at that 16. Yes, it is. 2006 is the time there. That's unbelievable. And remembering now that these happened on opposite sides of the globe, about a half day apart from each other, these teams are tied.
Like tied neck and neck. I mean, exactly,
like
8 kilometers,
tied.
16 kilometers, and now what are we going to get at 22? Will it be
So do you know who the advantage goes to?
I think
So
Innovation, because they can see what happened.
Right. Well, Nathan, now, so they know what they have to do. Talking about the Alien Resurrection. Earlier today, when Aero raced, they had no precedent. They were just flat out getting the best. Which would you rather have? That's a really interesting question, and it would really depend on the athlete and the team and the director, to tell you the truth, because I've known plenty of directors, Nathan, that would manipulate data for their, like, especially in an individual time trial, where you would either tell the rider that they were doing better than they were or worse than they were, knowing their personality, right? If you tell Filippo Ganna that he's behind, he can go harder. He's a monster, right? Other riders, you tell them they're behind and they psychologically crack. And typically, well, to be fair, you probably don't get to the highest level by being that type of rider, but I think you follow what I'm saying.
Yeah, 100%. This is a great new board that, thanks, Martin. Martin's doing a ton
Thank you,
of
Martin.
work in the background for us here. Going to reload this real quickly and see if we get a better look at exactly what's coming on through. But as Martin does update our boards for us on the fly, to be straight here, which is absolutely great.
He's working as hard as the racers, to tell you the truth.
Wes Wolfpack with the 2737, Arrow with the 2737 at the 22 kilometer mark. And this is from the entire day. We are getting splits from the entire day, everyone, just so everybody knows here. BL13 with the 2747 as well. And we are waiting for innovation.
Exactly. If you're wondering, hey, what happened to innovation? Well, they haven't gone through that check yet virtually.
So I just changed the board to the 16 kilometer mark. These are times based off of the 16 kilometer mark. Wes Wolfpack actually at the 1958. Arrow at a 26. Look at the 2006 across the board. Arrow, BL13, innovation, all of them. That's the kind of like the check. Can you hit a 2006 or better if you're going to get into that top 2 to 3 or 4 situation?
Yeah, and take a look at World Elite Zwifters Wolfpack. They're on another level out there. Well, actually, they're on the same level as Arrow at this moment. This is fascinating. It's like playing three-dimensional chess in Star Trek, Nathan, right? Where you have to remember now that there's teams that raced half a day ago, and there's teams that are still to race. So this is very, very fluid right now. But what you can get these data points that are absolute, and that means at 22K, 2737 by World Elite Zwifters Wolfpack, that they live up to their name. I think, Nathan, during some of our ZRL Premier League races, we had 4 different continents represented by the team. That's extremely cool, and again, speaks to what Zwift community is all about. But 2737 from Arrow, racing out of Australia. World Elite Zwifters, I would say primarily European, but again, they touch the entire globe. This is going to be INC. I think they do have a little bit of an advantage. And let's see. That time has just updated, and they're gone. So I'm going to be looking for that INC time. It's going to be very close. I'm expecting there. Okay, so I'm expecting it's going to be quicker, to tell you the truth, Nathan. I think you're going to see a 27:25 the way they're racing. They're on the gas, full stick out here. So 27:37 is the time. That's not the winning time, folks. That's the third checkpoint before the finish, coming up at, let's call it 27.8K. We've got ourselves an absolute Donnybrook going on here today, Nathan. And
still not through. We don't
still
have
waiting
it just yet. We're still
waiting.
Still waiting for it to come on through.
You scare me when you update like that and I don't see them. Isn't this great? Isn't this fun? This is what the playoffs are all about. Remembering, this is only half of the story. We're going to be back in early December.
Look at how many
points race format.
Team members Italy just said, sorry, we got to go. I mean, it's
at
like
26K, Nathan. At 26K, you do the same. I'm sure.
100%, 100%. I mean, this is 1, 2, 3. I think they've dropped off at least 2, maybe 3 riders here. And Fumagalli here, 6.3 watts per kilogram to the front, 169 beats per minute, 500 watts. Now it's just going to be going to the front and sprinting with everything you got without getting dropped. It does look like they caught WLC as well.
They're doing a really good job. They're doing a great job. Yeah, so this is a bit of a, oh boy, it is 4. For a second there, because of the shadow eclipse effect. So Wahoo Le Col bringing it home now as well, 500 watts. Yeah. I mean, even north of that, as these guys now just pin the accelerator down on the floorboard, you might as well just duct tape it down there and see how much gas you've got left in the tank. The engine's going to start whining. This is where the check engine light actually is not only on, Nathan, it's flashing. It's telling you to pull over because you are now about to break the engine. You're going to crack the block as we're looking at 1K to go for Wahoo Le Col. And so that INC time, oh boy,
They
They went
came
the
through.
other direction,
They
Nathan.
did.
INC Alien Resurrection is 27:48, so they are now outside of that 27:37 that Arrow and Wolfpack from World Elite Swifters have put up on the board. It's not over, but certainly looking good for Arrow and World Elite Swifters right now.
As you can
Well, Arrow's
see,
done. They've already
this
got a
is
finishing time, but
this information is so great. The way that these boards are updating. The flag
so
means they've
cool.
finished with the red next to it. Green means they're still out on course and have started, are looking to finish. We can even see a live ticker of how up to the 10th of a kilometer of what they have left to go. Amazing job by WTRL here, bringing in this live data. Big shout out to them as we do see innovation coming through with
if you're
a
just
fourth
joining us,
place right now.
sorry to talk all over you, Nathan. I was just going to say, if you've never joined us on Thursdays, please do, as this kind of excitement happens for 136 weeks in a row. There's the finish arch, the arch and the arch, as the Italians have now put their time up on the board. They are officially done and dusted. Oh boy, Wahoo Le Col now across the line. So WLC has finished. This is Foudre. Oh boy, they look good. Not many teams had 5 at this point, as they're at about 1.2K to go.
Yeah, Foudre here, still with a pretty solid time, sitting in the top 10, 28:32 at the last check mark. Going to be outside most likely, anything when it comes to a top 5, barring some sort of insane amount of power that's come through for this last 5 kilometers or so. But still a solid time for a top 10 in the world in the playoffs. I mean, this is when the rubber hits the road, right, Dave? They've not competed at this level yet. They've had to stay within their zone. Right? They were EMEA Central, they were EMEA East, whatever it might have been, South. Now it's like, what can you do when we get onto the world stage? And Foudre are showing us that it is a top 10 ride for them still.
Yeah, these teams, I guess that's good to put this in perspective, Nathan. These are the creme de la creme of the community that are looking to basically what they've done is what Nathan said. They've been racing in their zone. Now it's become an all-star battle with the best of each zone from around the world, and the top teams will qualify. This is a lot of pride because you'll get an in-game jersey as well as a chance to race in the Premier League. And for some of these teams, that's the big goal, no doubt about it. We're going to bring Foudre home here. Get ready to punch out, guys. A good day in the office, no doubt about it, as this French team here is going to rip it. Very, very solid ride today for Foudre. Still, though, that 27:37 at that 22K check, it looks like 2 teams are a level above out here today, and one of them is out on course right now with us, World Elite Swifters Wolfpack. Arrow, again, has already finished, so that's a good global look, as here we are with DVR. Almost there. It's a classic world that we're in here on Watopia. This course is one of the most familiar to all of our racers, not only from a lot of time just grinding out, making watts on their smart trainer, but we race here a lot.
As you can see here, Innovation still doing an amazing job, but they did slow down a little bit. They brought it within about 20 seconds. Now it's down to 7 seconds, it looks like, of that close down. And now it's gone back out, though, from DBR. So DBR were able to kind of hold off Innovation a little bit. They're not going to get a better time than them. They've already lost over a minute to them or so. But they were able to kind of rally, or Innovation slowed down a tad, perhaps, as they were coming through at those times. And you can see Innovation here, 27:48. We'll be waiting for some final results. The results board will be a results board for the whole of the day, just so everybody knows what we will be bringing in just a moment for the standings. We'll also look to try and grab you some results for this individual zone. But the more important story is, how do these teams match up for their points going into the playoff day number 2?
And they can't really pop the champagne bottle yet, Nathan, as there's still more racing to happen today. So not quite a complete victory, although you're going to feel really, these are some of the more competitive teams, no doubt about it, that we've got in the community. There's going to be INC. So I'm a little surprised to see 5 riders, to tell you the truth. I thought they would have sacrificed to get that extra couple of seconds out here.
I feel like they went out really hot, too. We haven't seen too many orange numbers later on in the race from them. So I'm just getting the sense that perhaps, they cooked it a little bit too much, burnt, and had to scrape off the toast here later on in the race.
It's like when you make a pizza at home, right, Nathan? It's almost done. It's almost done. It's almost done. And then it's burnt. I think the
Yeah,
legs are the same way.
I think the legs were just a little bit of Jello. The Jello in the oven on a pizza. That's what was happening there. Jello
Yikes.
in the oven
No,
on a
thank you.
pizza. No thanks. Almeida here. Havett, Fell, O'Connor, Athletic, having a solid ride still, it looks like, as they
Strong
make their way
teams.
to the line. Great job to
They've
these
had a
boys.
great season. Yeah, they've been fun to watch, no doubt. They really came on strong in the second half of the season as well. This is where I want to open up my lemonade stand right after the finish line. These are all competitors. Uh, a lot of these folks right now are reaching for a bucket or just staring down at the ground in a pool of sweat. Very, very satisfied that this experience is over. Team time trials are much more fun to finish than start.
Looking to see if we can jump in
Unless you
here
hate
and just.
yourself, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I really I actually like the starts, so maybe I do
Oh,
have a
it's
little bit. Maybe I do have a little bit
this
of that.
discipline. I give
pessimist.
WTRL so much credit, Nathan, for bringing the team time trial back because I was just last night watching a fun discussion about the old 7-Eleven team. Actually, Tom Schuler, right in your neck of the woods there, and the Okowitz family in Wisconsin got that team going, and they talked about team time trialing and how big a deal it was back in the '84 Olympics for the Americans to win a bronze medal. And obviously, that was a boycotted game. Soviets and East Germans weren't there, but when you look at it, these are now the next group of women, and I believe I'm seeing some of the names that have had a fantastic year. That's fun to watch. There's Maud LaRue right there in the middle for Wahoo Le Col. So, got to wonder, big weekend of racing. So, we'll go back and look at just like we did with the men, Nathan. It's going to be quite a battle going on amongst all these teams from around the globe to see who gets the promotion up into Premier League. But I know that Wahoo Le Col, especially on the women's side here, because they're already represented with the men, but for the women, they're really looking to make their mark out here today.
Let's go ahead and see if we can find some results from what we just watched here for the men's side of things. 136 to the start right now of this race. And we are going to be, wow, I am really, really impressed right now by what Aero are bringing to the table, people, because this is not what I expected.
Good for them.
I was expecting, to be honest, I mean,
For the
not to
men
take anything
and the
away
women.
from them, but I was expecting them to kind of get blown out of the water a little bit here when it came to Europe showing up for the day, but proving me wrong here, as this is what we've got so far, as we look at the times. And Aero there at the top, coming through. They showed up with 6. It looks like 34:40 is the time that's the benchmark right there. Wes coming on through 5 seconds back, 15 seconds. BL13, what a ride from them! Really amazing ride from them. They were out of that earlier Middle East zone, that 11:30 start time for Central here in the U.S. And we've been talking a lot about them. A little bit of update it looks like here. For the results, I think this is going to be. I'll have to wait and see what's happening here with these. I think that there's some updates happening coming.
Just
through,
to go
but,
back,
yeah, go ahead, Dave.
remembering that there is a Aero men's and women's team. That
Good
was
call.
the men mixed that we were just looking at there. Um, but I would agree with you, Nathan. It's extremely cool because they're the ones that had to have the biggest question marks about how do we stack up. The time trialing, it's a little easier. It's a apples and apples comparison. You can look at your time. You're racing on the same course. There's no wind. There's no weather. So assuming that all things being even, you get a good feel for how you stack up. But with the points racing, not so much. But the proof is in the pudding. Looks like some teams are already out on course. I'm guessing now as we're underway. These riders have received their instructions. They know they're set back on the time. So they'll wait for their moment to roll here.
I
It's
think
always
coming out of this
practice.
zone, it may be No Pins R3R versus Wahoo Le Col, I think is what's happening here, perhaps.
It's a good fight. That's and again, big fan of what these women and what Wahoo Le Col have been all about. I love Aero as well. These programs that have a men's and women's team, I feel like there's some inherent advantage. Just the vibe on these teams have been absolutely incredible as we get ready to hit out here now.
Just want to really quickly also highlight, we will be doing coverage of the next men's race as well. That is coming up in 14 minutes. So we'll be coming across between both the later race for Europe as well as the later race for the women's side of things. We'll be comparing the times here across the board, though, too. The times coming in from the women's earlier race, we'll get those up on the board and see what those results are standing as, and we'll start comparing them as the ladies in the later race here for EMEA do jump out there. It's going to be, as we did say, Wahoo Le Col versus that Pins R3R versus Roca Corba. We'll have to wait and see how SC Sin and Coalition, though, ended up on the day. We will jump across a few of the other categories, too. I know a lot of you are going to be like, wait a second, there's some other categories going on here. Can we please take a look at those? Well, yes, we can. Let's go ahead and do that right now, actually, as WTRL have brought them up for us. Appreciate that so much. And it looks like let's just make sure we got this correct here. This is going to be Roca Corba here coming on through so far with the 38.18. I'm going to see if I can update this actually, and maybe it just needs a little bit of a refresh. Hopefully it doesn't break anything. Up against Arrow, they're 57 seconds back. We're still waiting for some updates here from Coalition's Synergy and SC Sin, but that's the benchmark that's been set there by Roca Corba, 38.18, 4.28 watts per kilogram across the team. Arrow only showing up with 4 within 57 seconds. There's Coalition Synergy coming on through, and then SC Sin. So that's the current standings for the day right now.
Well, I don't think anyone would be too surprised. Again, that's the team of Ashley Moolman Pasio, who is, become one of the biggest stars. That's, boy, if you think about it, Nathan, actually, as far as in real life, legit world tour riders, I don't know of anyone who's embraced racing on Zwift, esports, and she does gravel. I wouldn't be surprised. Marathon, mountain bike worlds. She's got a lot of range, and this team, Roca Corba, is her squad. Roca Corba is a climb right outside of Girona, Spain. It's very, very popular. As a matter of fact, it's one of the world's featured climbs, and being right next to Girona certainly puts you right next to top cyclists in the world as well. Aero One can be proud of their effort out here today, but we've got a couple of teams that are looking to challenge Roca Corba, and if they can get it all put together today, a squad like Wahoo Le Col is going to make this very interesting. Let's go in and look at our women's Bs now, as probably ZRG are BO8 with a 40:28 is the fastest time. Kirkmeyer B1, the Wild and Free Bees, 39 seconds back with the second fastest time. This is women's Bs now. That's part of the beauty of ZRL and WTRL is we've got racing for every level. Bs are a high level, that's for sure. The Big Ring, Smile on B, third quickest time. And then you've got two of the Australian Hump Day Ride teams here, the Bullets and the Bam Babes, finishing up in fourth and fifth as it stands right now for the Bs.
So in this B situation, those top two do come out of the EMEA that just finished just a few minutes ago. The TBR Smile-On, HDR Bullets, and the Bam Babes were all in the A pack for the Bs. So it does look like EMEA challenging a little bit harder here in the B category for that in-game helmet. Again, what's on the line when it comes to the glory, when it comes to B, C, and D categories? In-game trophy, essentially, that nobody else will have access to except for ZRL champions, and that will be the in-game helmet with the ZRL branding on it. Absolutely an awesome icon to show off in-game, exclusive to our Zwift Racing League champions. So that's what they're battling out here for in the B and C and D categories. In the C category, it does look like the Caramellos are holding out, and they were coming out of APAC, but TFC Storm coming on through. The team, I believe Carissa Min is on that team. Nice job to Carissa there. 8 seconds back, it looks like. And that's going to be coming out of EMEA. And then the rest of them, except for Revo Galaxies also, I believe, in the EMEA for the C category. But the Crank Crushers, solid job here in for third, followed up by TBR Smile-On, and then C, and then Revo Galaxies. All within a minute, showing how competitive this is across zones across the world, actually. I was expecting things maybe to be a little bit more separated across these categories, but no, they've been very well organized. Shout out to WTRL as well as to these ladies for the efforts that they put in to make this some really close racing, Dave, in the C category.
Yeah, and some real the team camaraderie at this level is incredible. As you're mentioning, Carissa, man, there's a lot of great folks out there that have made the most of this season. We've been through a lot, some great courses along the way. This is the ninth race now for what is for the top teams a 10 race season. So that's a good look at the C's and a 43:26, the fastest time. We'll see how that holds up out here. This is the D's that we're jumping in with now. We've had three teams that have finished already. WTRL, the Drafting Dinos UK D1, 46:51, the fastest time that we've seen around the globe up to this moment. AHDRL, the Daiquiris with 101 back, second quickest time, but then the Australian Hump Day Ride Ladies Diamonds team with 207 back, third quickest time. That's the D's. So that's a good look at all of our different categories of racing out here as we bring all of our divisions together from around the
Real
globe for
quickly,
day
wanted to
one.
also just highlight, to give this context then, these are the points that the teams will be carrying in. Wahoo Le Col and then No Pins have started their ride. That's why there's zeros at the top, but at the bottom, but they have not finished their ride so far. So this is where the standings go into our December 4th playoffs day number 2 as things stand. Just to give those who are looking for this information an idea here. So then, as you can see in the B category for the women, it is going to again be obviously with the fastest time they grab this, but I think giving an idea of what consequence does that have, right, Dave? Okay, there's a time, but what does this have as a consequence for the playoffs? Well, these are the points that carry over into the points race that is happening on December 4th out on the Innsbruck KOM after party.
Yeah, the scoring is pretty straight ahead. The top team, it doesn't matter how much you win by or take second by or third or on down, it's a 1 point difference. So that 20 points now, again, you're going to have to back that up in Innsbruck coming up here in a little more than a week if you want to get that promotion. But it's certainly a good start. That's for sure. You're playing with the house's money as we take a look at some of the different divisions out here and where things stand heading into the second race. But actually, can't quite say where things stand because there's still plenty of teams yet to race, like No Pins R3R and Wahoo Le Col. Haley Johnson and company on that No Pins R3R team, they're ready to make a statement out here today as well. Only two women's teams in the A's are going to be out on course, but they're two high quality teams. And remembering that they've got the time checks already to look at from Roca Corba, the fastest team out there. We're going back now and just looking at a bunch of the different. This is Aero in the men's mixed race here with their fastest time at the moment. We just saw World Elite Zwifters, the Wolfpack edition, finishing as they probably wouldn't be disappointed, Nathan, to see stop the count, as they say right now. But there's still more teams that are going to be heading out on course. But that's a pretty good indicator now. You've already got the Australians done, and now some of the top teams in Europe have put their times up. The Belgians, the BL13 Watt Bomb, sitting third fastest right now. INC Alien Resurrection, who, if you stop the clock at the midpoint of that race, they were the fastest out there, and they still hold on for the fourth fastest time. So they're still within striking distance of earning that promotion up into the Premier League. Team Italy won, another team that went out very, very quick and still hold on for a top 5 ride at the moment. That's Eat Dirt Aces sitting 6th, and Zedbro Frodo 7th, Skylab 8th, Foudre XO in 9th, and then Dutch Racing sitting with the 10th fastest time as it stands for our men's mixed A's.
It does look like in the B category here, and we'll see if we can get a cross examination of this alongside of the times as well. For the B, the C's, and the D's as we get into the images for our next races that are about to start for the men's in just a moment here. But as it stands here, it is Dirty Beasts Goats here at 20 points coming into playoff day number 2 as it stands. Verta Slow there, followed up by HDR Barracudas. There's ZRG RBO1, SC Snipener there, DBR Tornadoes, the Zedbro Eagle, Old Dirty Bees, and Vikings Glepnor TFB1. That's the situation right now in the B category for the men's mix across the day, as we still have, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4 races still to finish up.
Yeah, there's it shows you how massive the Zwift Racing League community has been. The believe I saw over 1,700 teams participating. This is going to some of the best names. We've always said this, Nathan. The best names happen in the C's and the D's for sure.
They do.
Dirt and
They do.
Ernie are fastest time there. And they are sitting on top of the table as ZRG 19 points in second. Team Italy 5 with Team Italy has multiple squads in different divisions here. And this is going to be Team Italy 5 sitting third fastest time. Cryogen Isaran, fourth quickest. DZR Fast and Fun in fifth. AHDR Commodore, sixth. Evo Core 1, seventh. Evo Core HP sitting in eighth. Team Big Ring 44 Tooth in ninth. And if it's an inside ring, that's a big ring, huh? AHDR Chargers sitting in the top 10 right now. That's the
Real
C's
quickly,
for men's mix.
these were the times. I know some of the people in chat are asking for the times here. These were the times that ended up with those points that we just looked at the B's. Just so everybody knows, I will not read through them, but just to give an idea of how close the racing is, almost within a minute. Only 7 seconds outside of the minute with the Beast Hellhounds, actually. In the C category as well, all within about 2 minutes. You can see Dirt and Ernie with a solid 40, 14, 13 seconds back, and then 29 seconds back for Team Italy 5. So that was the situation there in the C category. So far for the Ds, this is what's played out with the 44, 47 being, you got 0 watts per kilogram at the top, though, so maybe we need an update on this board.
They could try harder than that, right?
But
feel like you're not giving it your all.
I think the data just didn't pull through on that section because this is the current standings. Team CLS are endangered, Belgian Zwift Riders, WMC Dodgers, and then AHDR Drop Bears and the TFC Ghost Riders. Vikings Asgard are out on course right now in the next category. So that needs to be updated.
Right.
So that's the situation right now. There's an update as to how the playoffs day is going. Let's go ahead and head down to some images as it's 7K in for no Pins R3R right now on the ladies' side of things.
Well, this team's had a great year, that's for sure. Haley Johnson, Julia Decker is the German rider on this team. Lou Bates joins Haley, racing out of the United Kingdom. Then you've got the Dutch rider, Make van der Plas, and Elise. And the other rider here I want to add is Debs Stokely. So a lot of United Kingdom represented on this No Pins R3R team. No Pins has been a nice addition to the stable of sponsors that have gotten behind esports racing here. This is Lou Bates. What a powerhouse Lou is. I would say her consistency, her dedication, the hallmarks of success, to tell you the truth. And this team coming with 6 strong women ready to go toe-to-toe. Have you ever been to Death Valley in California? Nathan, have you ever been there? It's not exactly on the beaten path.
I actually have not.
There's a good reason that they call it Death Valley. It lives up to the name. Oddly enough, one of the best time trialists in American racing history, Dave Zabriskie, there's a Zabriskie Point out there, which oddly fitting for what we're doing right now, but certainly this world that we're on, this is Watopia here. And when you look at it, Death Valley was clearly in our game designers' minds, as this looks like it would be the national park exhibition here and maybe a barbecue spot. No time for barbecue right now. They've got this figured out, Nathan, when you look at not quite a blob, certainly not exactly single file here, but this is a team that's on their A game, no doubt about it. It's going to be really interesting. We're going to get splits coming in at 8, 16, and 22K. We're going to look at historically how the teams that have already raced today have done at those splits, and this is going to be the mighty, mighty Wahoo Le Col team, as Amy Williams, Anna Fairweather out of Scotland, out of United, I should mention Wales for Amy Williams. Helen O'Neill is another rider from United Kingdom. We mentioned already, Superstar. I think one of the breakthrough riders from Zwift that's going to go on to become a big-time legit pro is Madeline Elaine Leroux. You've got Weiss de Jong from Holland here, and Zoe Langham. Zoe is a monster, no doubt about it. So this is Wahoo Le Col that we're looking at now, Nathan, as this team has got Premier League written all over them, but they're going to have to prove it out here today.
Yeah, and taking a look at
we don't rubber stamp it.
If we look at the organization between the two teams, there's not a lot of difference from what I've seen so far with how the avatars are behaving amongst the pack here. We do have Lou Bates taking a lot of pulls in the front from what I've seen so far. Lou Bates definitely a cornerstone of this race. We've seen her, to be honest, we have seen a lot of carry from her into the position that they've put themselves in over and over again. She's got a solid sprint, a solid climb, and now the rest of the team, I think, are going to slot themselves around her strength right now and support that right to the finish line today. That's just my feeling about what the plan needs to be when it comes to Lou Bates. And also their experience. No Pins R3R are going to be a long-standing team. And they do have a little bit, in my opinion, not just an opinion. I mean, just the reality, a lot of these riders have been around a little bit longer, whereas WLC have a lot of fresh blood in the game.
That really shows too, Nathan, in the team time trial, that experience that you're talking about. I completely agree with what you're saying. And Lou Bates is showing you here right now something that I've tried to illustrate for the last couple of years is that the stronger riders, they don't go faster when they hit the front. They take longer pulls. Nathan, if we could go back and watch that last minute, you would see exactly that. Lou Bates has really one of the riders whose intelligence level and physical ability are at such a high level, and it's really cool to watch. So Lou Bates finishing up a really long, hard pull, keeping the team speed up right now is going to be Decker, as it's such an impressive job by the German rider Julia Decker all season long as well. You hit the nail on the head, though, Nathan. This team is experienced. They've done their work, and clearly they take this seriously. This is one of the epic battles. Again, like watching Godzilla and Mothra battling outside of Tokyo. These two teams have earned this spot in the big leagues, and they still. It's not just them. Is Roca Corba now? Oh, ooh la la, Nathan. 11:11 was the fast time there from Roca Corba until we just saw 10:59 from WLC. Wahoo Le Col's elite women's team is en fuego out here as they're looking to turn Watopia into downtown Pain City right now. This is going to be Wahoo Le Col that we're picking up at 10.7 kilometers in. They are flat out flying. That's Maud LaRue. Again, big race day on Sunday where she finishes with the silver medal right behind Ashley Moolman-Pasio, who raced earlier today. So they raced against each other in real life a couple days ago. They're having back at it now here in the world of esports on Zwift. Oh, Nathan, I love racing like this. I really do. This is what sport is all about.
I'll see you virtually in a few days. I love it. See you virtually in a couple days. We'll see who takes gold on Tuesday, is what LaRue is saying, and we'll see. I mean, so far, Maud's showing up and saying, "Okay, you might have it outside. We'll see what happens here inside." This is a great battle now playing out in front of us, and. I wanted to highlight, though, something that you did just say a moment ago. Decker, I saw her pulling through at 5 to 6 watts per kilogram, similar to what we saw from Lou Bates, but the pull was only about 30 seconds, whereas Bates was there for a minute to a minute and a half. They're really organizing well around their energy systems to get the most out of their riders, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, that's perfect. It really is, because it speaks to exactly what I'm saying. And you're going to hear this with experienced riders when you're racing in a breakaway as well. It's when you hit the front, keep the speed. We're going 48 kilometers an hour or 50 kilometers an hour in the flat. Don't be a hero and hit the front and try to stay there longer while we're dropping speed. Get off the front and let another stronger rider take their pull. You have to understand your limits. And clearly this team knows exactly what they're doing, as this is No Pins that we're back in with now, the R3R team. That's Lou Bates and Julia Decker and company. This is going to be a Vanderplas, a Makke Vanderplas, the Dutch rider on the team, as she's taking. Just watch how long she stays on the front here and watch the effort that she's making. That's one of the beautiful things. You can see that she was up over 4 watts, but it looks like we're going to see a bit of a rotation right now on the front, as this will be Deb Stokely coming through.
Solid little pull here from Debs to 5 watts per kilogram. Bates now sitting in second wheel. I think she's going to remain there as Decker now jumps onto her wheel. A little bit of a argy-bargy with the avatars, though. Looking to find their place again. I have a feeling we're going to see a little bit of a push from Bates here to push the other avatars out of her way, because I think she does want to be second wheel. And you can see live right in front of us what we've talked about the drafting dynamic 3.0. Bates having to put out 4.6 there to jump onto a wheel that's only putting out 4 watts per kilogram. Now 4.5. Deb's now having to go backwards as her pull is over. And Bates, I'm not trying to like, this isn't to rub salt in a wound in any way whatsoever. Just right there in the live images, we did see Lou Bates have to put out similar to what she would want to do on the front, but had to do it just to get to second wheel because a couple of avatars rolled over the top of her. It was almost unavoidable. It was, if they were rolling through with some downhill, reorganizing quickly there, but it could have been done just a little bit better, perhaps.
It's a little bit like starting your sprint from 10 wheels back instead of 3 wheels back, right? You're using a booster rocket that you'd rather have for the finale, and that's going to be the difference out here today. We're anxiously awaiting this next split from 16K, which is a little past the halfway mark out here. Wahoo Le Col, this is going to tell us a lot. If they come through here quicker, we're not. So what we saw earlier today in some of the races that we were watching were teams that went out all guns a-blazing and then started running out of ammunition in the back half of the race and sliding down from the fastest times into the 4th and 5th slot. Well, Wahoo Le Col is going to look to try to avoid that, although they're not quite single file here. So both teams looking right now like they're having a little bit of a struggle keeping that perfect form out here. Again, a lot of energy goes into not only racing your bike, but trying to keep things together. As Wahoo Le Col, again, with that 10:59, the only women's team to go under 11 minutes at that 8K check. If No Pins R3R is going to hope to win this race, they're going to want to start whittling that down. They're only 14 seconds back, and only is fair to say here, 14 seconds is obtainable for No Pins. They're not out of the race at all.
Agreed. And, it has evened out just a tad right here. It's been around that 45 to 43 second marker on the riders nearby list, which tells me that through this last section, after they hit the Redwoods, down through the right-hand turn, away from Watopia Mountain and into Ocean Boulevard, things have evened out a little bit more between the two teams. And I do think
sort of
that
stabilized.
the experience of No Pins R3R and the way that they are controlling their avatars at the skill cap level, again, the experience of No Pins R3R is shining through, I think, at these moments right now.
Agreed. I think that the raw enthusiasm is what Wahoo Le Col's got in their checklist on the positive side, and the experience is what R3R has on their side. And experience in team time trialing is huge. Although this group now, Wahoo Le Col, we're back in with now, you can see. I wouldn't call it struggling. That's for sure. I mean, both teams still have 6 riders together through the middle part of the race. That's a good sign of cohesion. They're just not quite nailing all the dance steps right now. But you can see that we're about 1K away from having that next very interesting check to look at as we take a look at Zoe Langham here now. Zoe Langham racing out of the United Kingdom. And another breakthrough rider, no question. We're going to hear a lot more. Now it's starting to come back together here, Nathan, a little bit for Wahoo Le Col.
And I think leaving Ocean Boulevard, we're going to have a lot more information because through this whole section, you're going to get some data points. Obviously we'll get some data points as they do come through. But I think also what we'll see here is whether or not it changes outside of that 45 to 40 second rider nearby situation. And I just get the feeling that through here, No Pins R3R have kept things really consistent. Now the question, though, can they keep this consistency and even just raw power, though, through this 1% uphill, 2% uphill gradient through the S-turns? These S-turns here, I think, are going to be the next point where Wahoo Le Col know that they just got pure power, and they'll really start to stoke the fire.
And again, you don't have to win the race here today to call today a success, because even if they can end up second behind Wahoo Le Col, if they're quicker than Roca Corba, that's going to be extremely encouraging.
That's a
So you
great
could say
point,
the
Dave.
same thing.
At 113,
Yeah,
they're only 2 seconds off. I mean, this is not just a race against Wahoo Le Col. Roca Corba are on that board.
No, absolutely. And Roca Corba, I think, Nathan, if you talk to folks who've been following the ZRL this year, was one of the really hot teams. A lot of conversation around them. And these two teams have quietly been waiting in the wings. They don't race in the same, they're both in that Europe, Middle East, and Africa division, but they race not against each other week in, week out. So these teams haven't seen each other. And I really have a feeling this is encouraging for both of the squads, no pins and Wahoo Le Col out here. Nathan, now, so if you're no pins and you want to have the fastest time today, you've got to just turn it up, just turn the heat up a little bit here, just a couple of degrees. This is going to be Wahoo Le Col that we're in with now. And, Vis de Jong is the rider that has been that we've been focusing on, but they continue to hold on to this advantage. It's about 18, 17, 18 seconds out there right now. So we haven't seen any major changes, to tell you the truth. But what's encouraging for both of these teams, again, is they're looking like they're going to be in the conversation coming into our points race a little over a week from now, that'll determine who gets that promotion up into the Premier League. I know this team, they're really, really hungry for that Wahoo Le Col.
I'm really impressed at no pins right now. They've kept it in that 40-second mark. It's over 40 seconds still. Now, it may start to drop here at this point. You might see on the back end of the S-turns, just a little bit of a bump down into the Italian village. It might start to give us a little bit more information, or even a section like this, how they're pulling through the dirt here. But I wonder
Good job,
if
Julia.
No Pins R3R have just really set their tempo, set their schedule, and put, things together here in a way that's challenging WLC to not walk away. Because, to be honest, WLC are such a strong team, the way that they've showed up throughout the season. I've just really felt like they were going to be kind of a walk away team in some of these events here, and it was going to be this Roca Corba versus WLC. But no pins R3R, they are not giving up the ghost. They are holding on, not just holding on, but they're hitting threes here outside the paint, really, I feel like, in this back end of this race.
Quality of character is what you're looking at right now. These women are absolutely committed, and they are burying themselves right now talking about R3R no pins. It is not over. And you know what, Nathan, if they can finish that last minute of racing in 45 seconds, they're going to win this race today. They are right there on the threshold of having the biggest ride in the team's history here in our playoffs. This is day 1 of 2, the epic throwdown in the team time trial. And there it is. So
Wahoo Le Col, they've separated
iota.
themselves a little bit. They've separated themselves just a tad, but it's been pretty consistently this 43-second rider nearby list, though, which is telling me that Wahoo Le Col got what they have right now at that, what are we talking, 16K? They got that a little bit earlier. It wasn't necessarily right at the 16K here, and I have a feeling it's been pretty consistently staying there since about the Redwoods, since about leaving the Fuego Flats area, and so really I think we're looking toward 22 and finish line for what's really going to happen here, whether or not Wahoo Le Col are saving anything for the back end of this course, or if they put a lot up front, and whether or not R3R is going to fade or be able to accelerate and try and bring some of this back. Right now, as it stands, though, I mean, we are hyping up no pins with staying in this race, and that is a hype, moment that they're staying in the race, but Wahoo Le Col are definitely winning outright at this moment.
They're an absolute wattage blowtorch. I mean, somebody just said, turn it on full gas at the start, and they haven't backed off at all. I have a feeling that, Nathan, you're familiar with the New Zealander, Ella Harris, who's gone on into the World Tour racing for the Canyon SRAM team. I think Maud Lemieux is on that fast track, to tell you the truth. I would not even put it past her to be racing in Tour de France Femme avec Zwift next year. She's got the goods. There's no question. She's been taking huge pulls out here today. As we take a look again at Amy Williams, the Welsh rider. I mean, there's no weak link on this team. This team's got Premier League written all over them, and the fact that they're racing faster than Roca Corba, and Roca Corba is much more than just AMP, Ashley Moolman-Pasio. That's a full squad. As we taking a look at some of the men's mixed times coming in
about that.
right now.
This is actually women here still. That just says the wrong thing at the top there. Apologies on that. I'll get that changed up for you in just a moment. But now it's going to be men's. There we go. Now it changed up. All right. And as we do, we'll see if we can jump across over to the men's current situation here, as we do have them out on course. And it is the Jet team that we're going to jump in with first. We'll see if we do have anything in at that first checkpoint for all of you to get an idea of where things do stand. It looks like across the board, this is going to be the situation for the men's A's here in the mixed, as we did see West Wolfpack earlier set these times. These are the times, though, for this current zone that we are looking at for the men's events right now. And it is No Pins R3R, Veritas, Team Electric Experience Company Sling, and Jet Racing that we're looking at right now with the times that are being set there at the first 8K marker.
Okay. So this is the Jet team waiting for their second. They're ways away from that second check. EY is the rider here. Racing out of Japan.
10:08 versus, we'll have to wait and see what comes through later on. As you can see, the starters, and it actually goes almost exactly in order there, except for Veritas. Veritas actually starting the second team to go out. Third team to go out was Team Electric Spirit CO, and then No Pins R3R were the fourth team to go out. Fourth team to go out with a 10:08, right up against that West Wolfpack actually. So 9:58 from Team Italy was the fastest we saw through there. And with only 4 out and the lower seeds out only so far, I'm wondering if we're going to see some crazy times out of this later race category actually for the men's mixed.
What are the fastest times that we've seen? Is it Aero?
9:58. 9:58 with that Team Italy.
What's the fastest time overall for the day? What's the time
for the day?
Beat?
Aero. Okay, sorry. So yeah, Team Aero was the fastest time overall for the day, and that would have come in. Let's see.
Sorry, we've got so much racing going on here. We're jumping in with this 12:30 start time for the men's mixed A's, as this is.
So the fastest time so far on the day coming in from Aero is going to be a 34:40 for the whole day, if that's what we're looking for here. There it is.
There we go. Look how close that is. Just 5.5 seconds basically back to World Elite Zwifters Wolfpack, and then 15 seconds back to BL13. It's the points that matter, though. Well, the time obviously is how we get to the points, but 20 points for Aero as it stands. But this could change, and as Nathan had said, this is a time zone that's looking to make its mark here. Now, expect some very quick times coming out of this group. So those are definitely in the balance, not set in stone.
And see if we can work our way through this zone. I also wanted to jump across to a couple of the ladies in a few of the other categories as well. We'll see if we can do that for everyone as they do get out on course a little further. I think No Pins R3R, they may be we'll have to wait and see if there's any other teams that are actually going to be jumping in here. They may just not have hit the Redwoods just yet.
I think
that's why.
So our women's teams, that Wahoo Le Col and No Pins battle should be down. This is it right here. As we, I apologize. So this is not it. I apologize. My bad.
We can jump across.
I saw R3R No Pins, but I was wrong. I'm not sure.
That's all good. We're in with them now, though. R3R No Pins as they make their way around. 36 seconds, 35 seconds. So WLC are starting to stoke the fire. They are starting to bring things back a little bit here.
So R3R No Pins is the team that we're in with right now. Wahoo Le Col starting to ride away a little bit, as they had a great day, no question, as they'll be just past that third checkpoint here. So we should have some splits that tell us that this advantage is going out for Wahoo Le Col. They're just putting more coal on the fire right now. You can actually feel them accelerating. Boy, this is a ride they're not going to forget here. Welcome to the big time for Wahoo Le Col. Back with R3R. So they're at less than 5K to go here.
Less than 5K
About 6.5 minutes.
Real quickly here, let's take a look and see how things are standing. Go ahead and do a refresh on the page, and we'll get an idea at the um,
Getting closer.
16K mark. We had that
As you can see, Roca
2202.
Corba.
Wow.
So Roca Corba is actually closing in. Now they've already finished. So they're across the line and they've got their legs up. But Wahoo Le Col is absolutely now not deadlocked, but they need to continue to press on here. It's not beating R3R no pins that's really the question. It's can they beat Roca Corba, which is a South African based esports team.
Yeah, they're really showing that they saved something for the back end of the course, it looks like, at that 30-33. So, 4 seconds. It went from an 11-second advantage to 4 seconds over that 6K, actually. That's a huge difference.
Which isn't huge. I mean, you're talking about they basically just halved that the advantage that they were, or disadvantage that they had. But still, for Wahoo Le Col, it's not like they're collapsing at all. I expect them still to have the fastest time out here. They've got 6. They look extremely good right now.
They can. They have the ability here at this point to drop 2 off if they need to in order to secure that last point and just allow the 4 fastest riders to just ride away at the highest watts per kilogram that they possibly can. You might need to start thinking along those lines coming into these last couple of K. If you do want 20 points on the day, you cannot be waiting up for any riders really at this point if this is all about winning up against that Roca Corba team.
Yeah, there is no shame in that. As a matter of fact, if you're a rider who's on the ropes right now, go to the front and take one last pull and try to keep the speed up for the team because they've got wiggle room. And here goes Maud. So Maud LaRue up on the front now. She's going to take some monster pulls. There's no doubt about it. But Nathan, if they want to be faster than Roca Corba, they might need to do exactly what you're talking about, and that is sacrifice riders. It's going to be touch and go here as they're down to less than 3K of racing remaining. This is going to come down to a handful of seconds for the win out here today. And again, racing around the globe here, but this is definitely a hot spot that we've hit. This is one of the top 3 times that we're looking at coming right now from No Pins R3R. They started in front of Wahoo Le Col, and they're certainly not going to get caught today, and they're looking to pick it up here in the last couple K.
30:52 is the time coming in from No Pins R3R at that 22-kilometer mark. They're looking to finish it out strong with a top 3 ride up against Aero, Coalition Synergy, SSC, Zin. Wahoo Le Col 30:29, trying to hold off the earlier time of Roca Corba cycling of Ashley Moman-Pasio, that world champion, and her team that's looking to get into Premier Division. 30:29 from Wahoo Le Col, though, 4 seconds. Can they hold on as Maud LaRue heads to the front with Zoe Langham as well? They're not letting any riders go, interesting enough. They're going to continue on with 6 and try and come to the line as it blobs up a little bit here. Zoe there at 6 watts per kilogram, 43 kilometers per hour. And just a K or so to go, a little over a K to go.
Yeah, boy, it's going to come down to every last watt here. Now, Wahoo Le Col's got to be so hyper motivated as this is the ride that they've been looking for all season long. As we're back in with Julia Decker, as she's the German rider leading R3R no pins, and they'll be swooping around these bends. The finish line arch is not that far away. This is the point where the horse can smell the barn, and you're going to look to leave absolutely everything out here on course. You should be running on fumes collectively as a team when you come across this line. At this point now, you're tapping on the gauge, looking, is there anything left in the tank as we got to go and go right now? It's going to be R3R again is the team. They've got 5 together here. A heroic ride from these ladies today, and they've kept themselves right in the conversation for that promotion coming out of our playoffs here to make your way up into Premier League, which will pick back up again with season 2 in early January.
Yeah, I believe it was January 11th, if I'm not incorrect.
Right for community, the 11th, 10th, I think, for the Premier.
Looking at Elise on the front here, 5-3 as they head into that final sprint section. Keeping it all together with 5 to the line. I believe they did start with 6 and let one go with as Debs. It did back on off, 46 seconds back from her team at this point, but that's not going to have any consequence on the time as it is the first 4 across the line as Bates here pulls the team to the line as kind of a metaphor for the season, perhaps a little bit, but I think some of the support here has shown up in an amazing way as Bates
It really
here, 8
did.
watts per kilogram, Vanderplas there, Decker, Johnson, that's going to be your first 4 across the line. WLC looking to chase them down 34 seconds back, and they're going to
Finishing
come
with
with
4,
6.
too. If you noticed, they finished with 4, which showed precise execution out there today. No Pins R3R definitely gets a gold star for their effort. Maud LaRue up to the front now as Wahoo Le Col. This is going to be interesting, Nathan. Do they beat Roca Corba? No question that they're going to be quicker than No Pins R3R today. It's the Roca Corba team that they're racing against a ghost right now. But this one is done and dusted out here as Watopia's waistband was no match for Wahoo Le Col today. Back in with Crush Pod, the Word team.
Yeah, just jumping across just to make sure we get a little bit more coverage of our B, C, and D categories here. And Crush Pod's going to help us out to give us an idea of where the standings are. They're having a solid ride at 32-22 right now up against ZRG B08 from earlier in the day. Heard of Little Penguins there too. Only 5 seconds back. It looks like Kirchmer Wild and Free Bees have been unseated from that second place spot earlier in the day. And then there's TBR Smile On, followed by SCR. These are, again, times from throughout the day, everybody in the B category for the women. And Crush Pod showing up in this later event is showing us that they've got a top 2 ride in them.
Wow, good for them. This is a team that's really been on the move here in 2021. As that's going to be the Scottish rider Amy taking her long pull here on the front.
Little Penguins, I think, here on the front with a major line.
They're only 11 seconds back there at that check. Now, this is split times. I'm assuming this is collectively for the entire day, all the teams that have ridden.
Correct.
So they're sitting in the top 2 for the best rides of the day right now at that second check. Let's see if they can find the top spot. Marjolaine here.
Little Penguins, top 3 right now for them. 5 seconds back from Word from the Crush Pod team. Chasing them is going to be SZ, but they're a solid 40 seconds plus or so back as AHDR Bullets already had a time from earlier. Coalition Equinox are out on course, just finishing up, it looks like. As this is going to be the finish of the B women. B women here out on course. At the top, it does say men's mix, but that's just our boards being having fun with us for a moment.
All right, so bringing all of our teams home here.
As these ladies
Maximum
do
you can
finish
start
up,
with is 6. Time taking off your 4th rider.
C's here, Dave, real quick, just to make sure that we get the Gentus out here. We got to get the Penguins out on course.
So the Penguins were the 4th quickest time with a 34:54. It's really tight there on our leaderboard. We saw the Carmelos of the Australian Hump Day Ride ladies team with that 34:37. These are all the 22-kilometer check. And 8 seconds back there to Crush Pod Verdandi. These are your men's mix. Actually, these are the women's C's, right?
Yep, these are the women's C's. Women's C's.
So women's C's, and then TFC Storm just 2 seconds behind Crush Pod there. Very, very close for our top 4 teams from around the globe here in our women's C's.
As they make their way around here, just wanted to really highlight where things were standing. Close racing. 34th.
What's the fastest time for the C's? What's the time to beat
overall?
For these ladies?
Time to beat? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll bring that in here. Let's see if I
It'll
can
give
get
us
that
more
for you.
perspective on what they're up against here. This is Verdandi that we're in with now. I love the kit. They look great.
I believe the fastest time
Sharp.
is going to be coming from the Z-Sun Kist. Z-Sun Kist, they're 37:38. And then Raven Looney's maybe like right on the Maybe a tie
Give
there.
him some
Look at how
credit.
close this is. This is really
Um,
close.
Also, notice that their watts per kilo were a little bit lower than second and third, which just means that they're a little more efficient as a team out there as far as using the draft for Zed's Sun Kissed. So they know their craft. That's for sure.
Gigawatt Blaze here for the C category. That was the D category. So ATP hype. Oh, now we got some updates coming on through. We're going to have to be patient here, I think, as they come on through.
Yeah, as you can, with 1,700 teams racing around the globe, these are the best of the best that made it into our playoffs. And it's still an incredible amount of data when you look at it now with all of the different levels of racing, the A's down to the D's.
Jumping around a little bit, looks like Brooks from Evo Sparks was the, I think, the DS out there today.
Team
Big shout out to
directors,
all
most
the,
likely.
yeah, big shout out to all the DSs. This huge sacrifice from them that they put in out for their teams. I mean, the reality is they don't get on the bike, they don't get their workout in. They're just there to support the workout and the organization.
It's a fun role, though.
It's really,
what a great way
yeah,
to be a
to
part.
yell at people while they're suffering. It's a great role.
I like the word
It's lots of fun.
encourage.
Encourage. Yeah. Oh. Good call there, Dave. Maybe Nathan's role needs to change up a little bit and not be yelling so much.
It's all in your perspective, right? These are
Evo
the Evo
Roses?
Roses that were. Wow, what a day it has been out here. A lot of energy goes into the team time trial. Nervous energy before the race, and that's as Nathan's talking about, the directors, the critical role that they play in getting everyone in the right place at the right time, get your head right, and then get out on course and really understand what your role is on the team. Looking a look, sorry there. I thought I saw Wahoo Le Col taking the win, the fastest time.
That was splits.
For our women's
We're still
race
taking
there.
a look here to see if we can get Raven Diva.
And I
is still at the
shouldn't say
fastest
win.
time at 22.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
and that's
a big
true.
difference between win and fastest time because we've still got teams yet to race today.
Let's see if we can get an idea of where the Roses stand here, but it looks like they may be outside of a top 10 when it comes to the women's D category. As we look through, though, the Emperors here, they have the second fastest time, though, that we're looking at a 41:29 with the herd of Emperor Penguins, actually, at that 22
And our
kilometer
women's
mark.
D category here. Raven Divas were the quickest time at that 22K check with the 41:23, but they were only 6 seconds quicker than the Penguins that you've got on screen right now. So they're in a battle.
Super solid. We'll take a look at these results as they do come in. Let's go ahead and jump across, though, see how things are playing out with the men as they are finishing up out here for the final race for EMEA. We still got more racing to cover throughout the day. Just so everybody knows, we will be in with the East and the West, giving an idea of how things play out for the final results before we head
East
into
and West of the East and West of America in a few hours, right?
Americas. Correct. No, Dave, we're going to do East and West Europe after that.
Yeah.
I'm just messing with you. Of course.
There's just
yes.
so much racing all over the globe.
There is. It's hard to keep track of. I could just
So
I'll just throw Dave like, hey, you got another one coming in 5 minutes. Let's go.
So this is going to be the Japanese team here, Jet. They have the Zwift Warriors that compete up in the Premier League, and typically, just because of you can't please everybody, they are racing at around 4 o'clock in the morning in Tokyo, or wherever in Japan they are. But they go above and beyond to compete in Premier. Our friends from Japan.
Perhaps they were just so used to it. They were like, we'll just stay on this. Or because they competed in this, they then decided to stay with it, perhaps. Not sure. Interesting enough. I must like the time.
In a weird way, it's not as bad as it sounds, because at least if you have a job, which is one of the main restrictors for riders in Premier League, is if you've got a full-time job, like you're a surgeon, you can't really change your hours. And that does keep some folks who want to compete in Premier from being able to do so. So at least if no one really, unless you work as a clerk at a 7-Eleven, not too many folks are working at 4 a.m. Except you are, Nathan.
Except for Nathan. Yeah, I was about to.
Except for
Wait,
Nathan.
wait.
And it's not at a 7-Eleven.
This is a 7-Eleven. I'm sitting at a 7-Eleven right now.
You're open 24/7.
You didn't open 24/7. You didn't know I'm actually selling all kinds of gasoline and things right now. All right, Iwa Eldora here to the front. 6 watts per kilogram. Little bit of a push, it looks like. I think there was some confusion for a moment there about whose turn it was after they let that Inamine go. 14 seconds back now. So they're going to finish with 4. Team Jet.
Confusion is probably the kryptonite of a team time trial squad, right? If you, they always say, if you play baseball, Nathan, that before the ball is hit, you should know what you're going to do with it before you get it. That makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Same thing in a team time trial. You should know what your next move is before you make it, or adjust and fill in a gap. But that would be making a decision on the fly. But you should always be ready for what's next. Not be surprised.
Oh, no, now to the front. 100%, Dave. I think that the having, and that's the DS right there, really. Here's what's going to happen next. Plan for it.
Exactly.
Don't have to make them.
Exactly.
Don't have to make any kind of decisions behind the 8 ball. It's
if you're wondering what you're supposed to do, you're not doing it right.
You've already
That's
lost
for
5
sure.
seconds at that point.
Agreed. And if you have a director, to be fair, that's sort of their job, right? You're like, hey, I'm flying the plane. I'm not the air traffic controller here. You can only ride one bike at a time, too.
Exactly.
That might be my all-time greatest quote. You can only ride one bike at a time. Well,
thanks, Dave. Really?
yes.
I'm sorry. Is there a
Sometimes
Captain
people try to
Obvious
ride
emote?
2 and it doesn't go well. No.
Yeah,
right.
true. All right. Okay. I'll give you that.
Point made.
Point made. Mega is here now, making the way to the line. Veritas. I got to put that A in there. I think it's because of the
So
A. Isn't in
we
there.
learned that. So remember, Veritas was going back to the Tour de Boudica, where it's these uprisers against the Roman Empire, and Veritas was in Portugal, or the Iberian Peninsula at least, and was one of the spirited. Speaking of spirit, here's electricspirit.co, but who stood up to the Roman Empire. That took a lot of courage. Romans weren't exactly a friendly lot. They wanted their tax money. All right, let's go ahead and pick up this team. I love electricspirit.co as this a gin brand out of the United Kingdom. I think England, but this is Wilson that we're with. They've been great all season long. There's the Union Jack. I think every one of these riders is from England in this case. Watch an Isle of Man flag will pop up here, of course, but
looking through, I
couple
think
Trons in the mix here.
having a good ride, dude. This is a really good ride actually by this No Pins R3R.
So this is a different No Pins. This is the men. Zach Harner here, though. Another name we know well.
Scott Gleason to the front, it looks like, as well. They all got a pretty similar setup here when it comes to the fashion police, that's for sure.
Do you think Anna Russell's influence has been felt around the globe at this point? It reverberating in every
everywhere.
Zwift cave?
100%. 100%.
We've got a lot of racing to look forward to. We're coming into prime time for esports racing on Zwift, no doubt. I just saw that we've got our Continentals to look forward to, riders who are looking to qualify. I just listened to the Zwift cast last night. Your most recent one with Simon and GP Llama, and talking about you possibly qualifying to race in Worlds. I don't know if you made it.
We were thinking about maybe doing some things, but a little bit of a wrench got put into all the training.
Was it the employees can't enter?
Yeah, it just comes down to. I would have continued to pursue opportunities or options if there were any options, but after getting sick and recovering, There's
Oh,
just the
right.
fitness is
That makes
just
sense.
gone. I mean, completely gone.
Right.
Like had to take
You know,
complete
most people
3
don't come
weeks
out of
off.
COVID ready to race worlds, right?
No, no, 3 weeks off is not a way to jump into a championship qualifying situation.
No, maybe next year. We should keep the thought and hope alive. That's for sure. These guys are 4 riders together here with about 4K to go. A lot of Irish flags, green Tron bike.
Did
Is
they start with
this looks like
3
Ireland?
perhaps or no? They got 2 chasing here. It
There they
looks
are.
like for RWBGD.
Stall the beans, boys. Stall the beans. We got to get everybody back together here.
As we wait for
I heard a kid in Ireland
these,
yelling that to his friends when they were running from school. Stall the beans. And I was like, what does he mean? He's like, he means wait. Hold on. Now they're back together here.
some pretty
A
amazing
4K to
times
go.
actually coming through here to highlight. I just want to lots of updates coming on through here, and as the men are finishing up, we'll start getting maybe to get some splits for them as they come through. But we definitely want to highlight the results for everything that we have covered so far. So let's go ahead and jump across and see how things did play out for the ladies' side of things. Wahoo Le
I'm
Col,
excited.
Dave.
They did
This
it.
is it right here
did
at
it.
the top too. 38:04 is the
It's a
time. Now, was
tie?
that the same time as Arrow One?
It's a
though?
tie?
Is that right?
Are we saying that Arrow? That is the same time, I believe. I had jotted down 38:18 for some reason. But
Just gonna double check.
let's hold on for a second. Either way, I'm fizzing with excitement. So Wahoo Le Col, 38:04. We're going to hold for a moment. I don't know, Nathan. I think that Arrow tied them. I think that's a 1-2 tie. It'd be unbelievable to think that teams racing 12 hours apart on different sides of the globe, more or less. I guess Maud is down in South Africa, but most of that Wahoo Le Col team is in the Northern Hemisphere. And Nathan, this is what it's all about. No Pins finishes with a very commendable third place at 35:09. But you know what we're missing? Where's Roca Corba?
Oh, that's a good
Something's
question.
up. Let's hold on that for a second
we'll
because
hold
Roca
on to
Corba
this.
should. Yeah, we're going to just stall the beans on that too for a second.
Yeah, perhaps we got to wait for a couple of updates to come on through here, as I do believe Roca Corba should be in
Either
that
way,
conversation.
If that time is right, 38:04 for Arrow, they have to be stoked. The Australians.
100%. I would think that they're going to be really.
Just
I mean,
losing their minds.
I was not wouldn't have been expecting it, but again, they did kind of stack the team this season. To be honest,
Is Bree Vine with them? Was
Bree
Bree
was
racing
racing
with
with them,
them?
but I don't think she was with them
Yeah,
this morning though. They had Watts, they had Banerjee, they had some big names were in there. I mean, there were
Those
some
are big names.
Yeah, so I would say up front, I'm surprised, but now that I look back and think about it, they really did stack the team, and I feel like Arrow this season have put another step forward. They've really put a couple more chips on the table here, I think.
Here's another team that's taken a step forward in our D's is the Rhinos. But Nathan, I would completely agree. They've got about little more than 4K of racing ahead of them. But the Rhinos have been coming on strong this year.
We'll see if we can grab some of the current times and things for them. Right now, we only have the women's times and splits, so we got to wait for some updates on the men's side of things to come on through. As we do, we'll let you
Always
know.
recommend folks go to WTRL to get the results later as things do change. And we've got a lot of racing still ahead of us, as you noted, Nathan. This is going to be the Italy 2 team. And Riso, where's the fourth? Just up the road? Doesn't look good if it's behind.
I'm not seeing any more Italian flags either, so I'm getting a feeling that Italy 2, they may have only started with 3. We'll see if we do have a fourth one out on course anywhere, but I think they're just going to be finishing up for their race here. I just wanted to highlight some of the D
They're racing
category
for
riders.
pride.
Yep, 100%. And as they do finish up, we'll wait on some of our results here to come on in, and we'll get you the men's and the women's results as well as the current standings. As we wait for those, let's take a look at the standings board for the current points. That'll help us get a little bit of an idea of where things are at as we wait for the times to actually come in. I definitely want to get everybody an idea of what the times were. But as we do watch the D category for the men finish up, it is going to be Wahoo Le Col, Roca Corba. So this will give you an idea of how things ended up for the times as well across the all the categories.
Yeah.
Too.
And that would mean the arrow did not tie Wahoo Le Col, as you can see. But Wahoo Le Col did get the better of Roca Corba out there. Congratulations to Wahoo Le Col Elite women. What a ride. Way to take that pressure and turn a lump of coal into a diamond today. Roca Corba right there, 19 points in second. There's still teams to race, teams like Dutch Diesel, that will be very competitive. No Pins R3R sitting in third as it stands. Arrow still an awesome ride to be sitting in fourth right now. Coalition Synergy in fifth, and the Swedish Swifters, the Sin edition, sitting in sixth. But Nathan, because of the way things will play out, we come back and race with all of these teams together, and they'll be starting in a points race format. So a mass start road race with preem sprints, bonus sprints, and then points at the finish line. So it's Swedish Swifters are not entirely out of this at this point. A lot of things could change on that final day of racing. So this kind of sets the table, but only one team gets to, well, a couple of teams will be looking for that coveted promotion up into Premier, and they're going to have to earn it out there on early December.
December 4th. December 4th.
4th.
Situation here right now. As it stands before we hit the Americas East and West, ZRG are at the top with Crush Pod and Herd of Penguins. That's your top three. Again, everyone's still in the conversation, though. I would say that is on this board, depending on how well you can climb on the Innsbruck after party, KOM after party, actually. So
it's a selective course that they're going to be racing on. That's for sure. Hopefully they'll be able to use their teams to their best benefit. This is going to be the Carmelos having their day today, coming from down under, the Australian Hump Day Ride Ladies team with the fastest time at the moment, which would, if they can hold on to that, give them 20 points. TFC, the Friday Criterium Storm team, sitting with the second quickest. We saw Crush Pod out there doing what they do so well, third fastest time. Heard of Gen 2 Penguins, fourth quickest, another one of the Australian AHDRL Crank Crushers teams there in fifth. TBR, Team Big Ring Smile on C in sixth. This is our women's C's, and Revo Galaxies round out your top 7 times at the moment. I'm changing my mic. I just whacked it again. Nathan, sorry. I'll get the other mic going
drafted
first.
Dinings coming on through here. HDR Daiquiris. Then it's the Herd of Emperor Penguins, Evo Roses, HDR Diamonds, and Raven Loonies is your top 6 heading into the rest of the day for our playoffs day. On the men's side of things, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the men's standings before we head off here. And it is this going to be right? No, okay. I am not sure. We might have to wait everybody and have everybody head on over to WTRL because I still have Arrow at the top with the fastest time for the entirety of the day. And if that's correct, I'm going to be so blown away if that's correct as we wait for this to come on through.
I just heard from Arrow. They said, yeah, that's fine. Go with that.
As things are. I mean, this is as things are. Wes Wolfpack, but they will not be able to stay. They already have a team at in the Premier Division, so they will be skipped over. But if this is the situation here, as it stands, we may be waiting for the latest event to come on through still, though, as we are going to have. I think what we're going to do is we're going to have everybody head over to WTRL.racing because as these riders finish up, I think we need to end broadcast and be ready for our Americas East and West, everybody. And as WTRL does get updates here on the current standings and where things are after this last race, I'm excited to see how this final category really did play out. But it looks like Arrow might have just walked away with it when it comes to the men's side of things.
Yeah, well, that's incredibly exciting for them. And again, for a lot of these teams, they've been racing against each other thereabouts for all year. But the Aero team, this is their chance to really take on the rest of the world. So good for them for making the most of it. Well, but we'll see how things all stack out. It's a huge day of racing around the globe here, and thanks to Martin and everyone at WTRL for their hard work. It's what a blast it's been, and we're not done yet.
Appreciate all the comments coming in. Karsten, it would have been fun to see me race in the qualifiers. That would have been great. But instead, I will be commentating on the qualifiers this Sunday, as Dave will as well. So I still get to put in some work, it looks like. Appreciate it. And again, I do see your comments, Douglas Cook, as well as Chris Sullivan. We will be back later today in the Americas East and West. We'll get everything organized as far as all of the results go, and we'll be able to show you plenty more up to date in comparison to the Americas East and the West with everything that's gone on throughout the day. Again, this is playoffs day that we're covering. We were just hanging out with the EMEA events just now. And for more up-to-date events, again, WTRL.racing. And good luck to everybody for the rest of the day. We will see you, me and myself and Dave will be on for America's East and West in just a few hours. Make sure to hit those follow buttons, like, comment, do all those things if you do like the coverage that we are bringing to you. Congratulations to everybody that's made it to the playoffs so far. And as always, everybody have a great rest of your day. Ride on and enjoy Neokyo. That's if you haven't checked that out already, go get your route badges. It's been a ton of fun jumping out on that. So see you in a couple hours. We'll see you, as always, right on.